Hey, you guys, welcome back to Mind Body Soul Evolution. I'm Gemma, and in this video, it is my great pleasure and honor to be able to share with you the story of this piece that you see behind me. This incredible, amazing, stunning piece of art that is not just any piece of art, okay, you guys. This right here, which some of you guys have asked me about, and I was going to make a video about it sooner or later anyway, but this right here is no ordinary piece of art. This is a channeled message from none other than Jimi Hendrix. That's right, that's him right there in this stunning golden chariot. Uh, a message from Jimi Hendrix from the other side, channeled by a very talented, amazing, visionary, psychic, soul sister artist, whom, by the way, I didn't know her when she created the piece, and I didn't know anything about it until a few years later. Uh, but I have, remained in contact with her, and I am very blessed to have crossed paths with her and the piece. And Jaime, I don't know if you have any idea just how grateful I really truly am, with a capital G, uh, for the fact that you allowed yourself to open up as a channel and receive and bring forth this beautiful message from Jimi himself, which is so appropriate and so timely right now. It's incredible. I can't wait to share with you guys. But anyway, yes. Okay, and I'll put information about, I'll put a few links probably by the end of this under the video. So you guys, like for example, for Jamie Holland's work, the artist, the psychic artist, uh, so that you can check out some of her other work if you feel free to do so if you're interested. But when she created this piece, she didn't just create the visual painting that you see right here, but she also actually channeled some automatic writing in the form of a two-page letter with messages from Jimi, which at the time, at the same time that she created this, and I don't know exactly. I'm gonna have to reach out to her and ask her what year it was, because maybe it was like 2014, 2013. I'll have. I don't know for sure. It's got to be around there, but I'll reach out to her and find out for sure. But anyway, um, and when she did the automatic piece of writing, she folded it up and put it in an envelope and attached it to, taped it to the back of the frame here. And that is still there as well. And after telling you the story, I'll go ahead and I'll pull out the letter and I'll read you the message also. Okay? So. Without further ado, oh, I also, you know what? I also want to mention that Ronnie Wood from the Rolling Stones has, I found out he's actually seen a picture of this piece, the, of this, my painting, and she, he has actually stated, he said that he loved it. He thought it was amazing. He loved it. And I think that's great because, that uh, Ronnie knows his art. I don't know if you're familiar with his the work that he does, but I mean, not only is he a genius musician with the Rolling Stones, but he is also, in fact, a very talented artist as well. And you should check out some of his art if you didn't know that or haven't seen it already. Anyway, yeah, so Ronnie loves this piece too, and I'm feeling totally blessed. Okay, all right, so without further ado, let me share with you how this piece came to be in my life. Okay, so our story would begin in July of 2016. Actually, yeah, it would have been the end of July of 2016. And I was a few days away from graduating from what was called Institute, which was it was a mandatory student teaching internship that took place in my case, through Teach for America. If you're not familiar with Teach for America, they're like the Peace Corps, but for teachers, for teaching. And I had spent a whole year, going through the interviews and jumping through hoops and taking certification tests and everything. And I had passed every stage and every step with flying colors, and I had been given an offer. And before I could be placed in at the high needs school district at the high school that I would be working at as a teacher for that year, for that coming school year, I had to attend and pass this 7 week long student teaching summer institute, which was in my case at Temple University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Anyhow, so I was 2 days away from graduation, and I had barely made it through like the skin of my teeth because I had a bunch of other stuff going on at the time. Uh, if you've seen some of my other videos, you'll know that just a month before, and it's no coincidence, there aren't any coincidences, okay, just a month before, in June of 2016, I had come to a point where I had needed to file a PFA, what is known as a protection from abuse, against my ex-husband, at the time my husband. But and in doing so, I had so much going on. My mind was so preoccupied with that when I received this message from this artist, Jaime Holland, through LinkedIn, of all mediums, of all platforms, LinkedIn. I got this message from her it simply said, "Hey, I need to get in touch with you. I need to talk to you," something to that effect, and with a phone number. "Here's my number. Call me." That sort of thing. And I had all this other stuff going on, and I frankly, my first reaction was to just push it away and not even think about it. Even though I had clicked on her profile and I had seen that she was a psychic artist, and I was like, okay, that's interesting, but whatever. I didn't know her. I didn't know who she was, and I didn't have time for that with everything else going on. So I pushed it all away. And I would not have contacted her, and I may not be sitting here right now doing this video telling you the story and holding this piece in, in my home, had it not been for the fact that a couple days later, I went through graduation of Institute at Temple University, and then well, that's a whole other long story, and I can't give a huge ass synchronicity that I experienced during graduation ceremony on that Friday. And so I'll have to do another, maybe I'll do another video about it. That's a whole other story. But anyway, it's hard to explain, but it triggered a memory in me, and I remembered something that. Okay, so this was July of 2016, and almost a whole year earlier, in September of 2015, um, I had attended this holistic fair, a holistic expo in Allentown in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania. And while I was at the expo, I was with some people who needed to do something, and they said they were going to leave, and they were going to come back, and I was just going to wait there for a little bit. But while I was standing there waiting and just kind of looking around, I happened to be right in front of this booth of this woman she's a Cayuga woman from the Cayuga Tribe. Her name is Willowearth, and she's actually quite a gifted seer, psychic herself, and she was offering readings. And what she does is she channels the voice of God through her doves, which she has several doves and horses. And in at this expo, she happened to have some of her doves with her. And she asked me, she said, "Hey, uh, I have a time slot here to do a reading for someone who hasn't shown up." And she offered to do this reading for me for free while I was just standing there waiting for my friends my to come back. And I said, "Sure, yeah, sure, why not? Thank you." So I stepped into her booth, and she went and she grabbed one of her doves, and she brought it over to me and she put it in my hands. And within moments, the the dove peed and pooped in my in my hands, both peed and pooped. and Willow Earth, she like went off. She was like, "Oh my God, this is such a beautiful sign. This is amazing. It's incredible." And and she was grabbing something to try to clean my hands and stuff. And I was like, "It's okay. It's all right. It's perfectly fine." But whatever, apparently this was an incredible sign for her. But basically, um, she told me at that time that I would be meeting someone named Jaime, who would be, down the line, who would be very helpful to me on my path, on my spiritual journey, who would be doing something or somehow that would be helpful to me on my path. And at the time, I didn't know what Jamie, I didn't know what she was talking about. So I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't think anything of it, rather. But I also, I mean, it's not every day you have a dove pee and poop in in your hands. So I mean, I was kind of struck by the experience, and it really, it was etched in my mind because of that, quite frankly. And so almost a whole year later, when I was going through all of this stuff, and I was graduating from institute and ready to get started on my job with Teach for America, this psychic artist reaches out to me through LinkedIn, and it dawns on me a couple days later. It's like, Jamie, that was the Jamie that Willowearth was talking about. It has to be. Well, that's how it felt, and it was like a very palpable feeling, like it, like well, like downloads tend to be. It was a download. And so, and by the way, I did end up getting this book to show you. Well, I mean, not to show you. I had this book, but I grabbed it from my shelf so that I could show you. This is a book written by Willowearth, the woman who did the reading at that holistic fair at the expo, Willowearth Convry. And this is the book. It's called "The Voice of God Through the Eyes of a Dove." Okay. And it says "An Anointing from a Feather." So yeah, this is the psychic reader, seer, from the Cayuga Tribe, who was at the expo and the whole dove thing. So that's who you can find her book also on Amazon. You can or other places, I'm sure. But I'll put a link to her to her book or to her work, or I'll try to find her. I don't know, her site or something. But I'm also extremely grateful for having crossed paths with Willowearth, and I did have more than one encounter with her, and the second one would actually prove to be. You think this story is mind blowing so far? Um, yeah, that's for another video. That's a whole other video. But anyway, um, so yeah, that's her. Uh, and when it dawned on me that she had said Jaime would be instrumental and very helpful on my spiritual path, she would do something. And here, I knew from the, getting this download, I had to follow the urge and follow the that feeling that, and that's how it'll feel. Okay. So like a gut feeling. So I, I picked up the phone and I called her, and I started talking to Jaime, and Jaime starts telling me the story of how she created the piece. And she tells me that several years ago, or several years prior, because she did not normally do this kind of art. Okay, she normally does like very realistic looking portraits of people and their pets and that sort of thing. So this obviously is a departure from what she normally does, right? So, but anyway, so a few years prior to her reaching out to me and contacting me, she says Jimmy started coming to her in her dreams and asking her to create this piece. And I mean, but she didn't see the piece, but he was coming to her asking her to create a piece. And she tells me that at first she didn't think anything of it. She thought it was a peculiar dream, whatever, and it felt differently, but whatever. She just kind of blew it off, and then he kept coming to her in her dreams and asking her. And she told me that he said to her, "Hey, I ain't gonna leave until you get her done. So ain't gonna go till you get her done." So basically, she said, "Okay, fine. Uh, I'll I'll do this for you." Okay. So she sat down and she started to get ready and create the piece. And as she began, she said that all that kept coming out at first were these giant grapevines, these grapevines that you see all around here, right? Um, and and she didn't know why. She says she had no idea why these giant grapevines kept coming out. Now, time out. At this point, at this moment, my alarms go off. My internal, whatever alarm system is like, "Bah, bah, bah," because get this, what Jamie doesn't know or didn't know at the time was that my last name, Parra, because I have two. I'm originally from Spain in this lifetime, and in Spain they give us two last names, and mine are Parra and Gomez. And Parra actually means grapevine. But it's much more than that. It's not just that my last name means grapevine. It has come to mean quite a bit on my path, and it has been intricately intertwined with the incredible synchronicities that I've been experiencing, and the messages that have been coming at me are often very related to grapes and grapevines. In fact, actually, this piece that you see behind me, this crazy looking Kundalini thing that I've mentioned in in other videos as well, is that's my walking staff, and she's magical. She's amazing, and um, she is actually made from a wild grapevine. And the person who created her and the story of how that piece came and crossed my path is also an amazing story of synchronicity, which I'll share in another video. But I just wanted to show the connection with the grapevine, and there's more. There's other synchronicities that are related to grapevines that have kept coming at me. This is how it works. This is how, this is how it is. This is how it's been. So the grapevine. Jamie's got my attention now when she said that. So I'm all ears, and she's telling me, okay, so uh, she actually had a few attempts where she gave up because of the huge grapevines that just kept coming out, and she didn't know why, and she started to think the thing was possessed, the medium was possessed or something, right? um, and she gave up, and then Jimmy started coming in her dreams again, coming to her and saying, hey, gotta get her done. I ain't gonna leave till you get her done. And asking her to do this. So she again said, okay, fine, I'll try it again. And so she sat down one more time to try to get it done. And this last time, obviously, she began, and the grapevines all started coming out again, first. But then, she pushed through, and the rest of the images and the rest of the elements in the piece came through, right? And they're quite striking, right? And every single element in this piece has a significance or a meaning, a very specific meaning to the message. So, but yeah, she finished the piece, and she sent me a picture of it, and I was like blown away. The moment I saw it, I felt so drawn to it. I was like, I felt like I was falling into it. I mean, it was incredible. It was like, and so I asked her, okay, I'm almost afraid to ask because, I had no money at the time. As I explained, I had the month before I had filed the PFA against my ex-husband, and he did not like that, of course. So he cut me off. He like cut me off from our finances, even though whatever, it is what it is. But and I was going through the internship, which was, as I said, unpaid. So I was like, oh, I don't know, I don't know if this is going to happen. But I asked her, and she said, well, the piece is hanging at an art gallery. I'm putting it into an art gallery because, I need to make a living. And of course, I understand that. I didn't blame her. And she, she said, you're welcome to go check it out at the art gallery. But the opening bid was for the piece was over 1,000, was over $1,000. So I didn't have anywhere near the money to purchase the piece at the time. So I was like, great. Okay, well, thanks for sharing. But I'm afraid I'm gonna have to pass at this time. And I didn't want to, but I had to pass. And so I kind of let it go and forgot about it and moved on, and time went on, and I even lost touch with Jaime, and many things happened on my journey. I've even moved a few times since then, until now. And um, right before I decided to go I had made a decision to go leave to live and study at a Buddhist monastery, which I did last year for almost half the year, for almost 6 months. But right before leaving in January of 2018, I decided to, I was like going through a lot of my belongings. I had already been going through like this process of uh, releasing and letting go much and of my material possessions, And that was kind of sort of happening, but naturally anyway, as part of the path. But I decided to do some of that, intentionally, and go through all my stuff. And as I was going through my pictures and my memories, I saw that, I saw that picture that that Jaime had sent me of the piece, right? And I was like, oh man, I wonder what happened to this painting. I wonder who bought it, who went home with it, and who got that message that the artist channeled, the automatic writing message that she channeled and taped to the back, And so I decided to try to contact her, and I found Jaime on Facebook, and I asked her, so what happened to the piece? And she tells me that it actually went through a few bidders, and for one reason or another, every time the bid fell through. All her other pieces sold without a hitch and went off to people's homes, and this one, which was actually the piece that garnered the most attention at the art gallery, actually did not. So, and and it fell through several times with several bidders. So she says to me, you know what? If you still are interested and you still want the piece, if you're willing to drive out to me, wherever you're at, you can have it. I was like, what? And I obviously, you can see what I said, what my answer was. But this happened to be on January 6th, Saturday the 6th of January in 2018, last year. Almost a full 2 years now, really. Yeah, it's been almost a full 2 years ago. But I drove out to meet Jaime at Lidditz, Pennsylvania, where we met at a restaurant, and she gave me the piece. And it's quite incredible, right? Yes, 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 yes. And I brought it home. Oh, I have to mention also, right before leaving, as I was getting ready to leave to go drive, and it was like a 2-hour drive to Lidditz from where I was, which I was more than happy to do, to pick up the piece. Are you kidding me? But as I was getting ready to leave the house to go pick it up, I had this experience in the parking lot before pulling out, where I looked up and I saw what are called fire rainbows, which look like swirly little rainbows on the edges of clouds. And they're quite a rare sort of rainbow related phenomena. And so to see that at that time was just, it was an incredible, beautiful sign for me. And I can't tell you. I mean, as you can imagine, I was all blissed out and feeling all the magic as I was making my way to go pick up this piece, and I see that in the sky, right? Okay, so I drove to go pick it up, and I brought it home. And that night when I went to sleep, I had none other than Jimmy himself come to my dreams to talk to me. Yeah. Yeah, no shit. I'm not, making this up. Okay, so yeah, so Jimmy came to talk to me. We talked about quite a few things. Some of them, again, I probably should make a whole other video about that alone, but because some of the things were quite sensitive that he talked about, like details surrounding his death. And yeah, no, I don't want to get into that at this moment, but yeah, um, he kind of touched on what this piece is and what the message that was intended, was. Uh, not only for me, for the person taking the piece home with them, but really for anyone who sees it, anyone who looks upon it. Okay. Um, but yeah, and then the following day, Sunday, January 7th, 2018, I decided that evening to hop on Facebook, and I did a quick Facebook live about the fact that I had picked up the piece, and a little, what I could about what I knew so far about it. Uh, and it happened to coincide, without my knowledge until later, with the famous speech that Oprah gave when she accepted her Golden Globe Award, the famous "It's the dawn of a new day" speech. And not only that, but it also happened to be that day, January 7th, 2018, happened to also be an astrological alignment. Not just any astrological alignment occurred that day. It happened to be the same astrological alignment mentioned in the song Aquarius by the Fifth Dimension. if you're not familiar with it, like, it was used in the movie Hair, in the musical. Uh, but if you think about the alignment, the celestial alignment mentioned in the song, which I've talked about in a previous video, you can go look at that video also. What and when is the age of Aquarius? But yeah, the lyrics state the alignment to be when the moon is in the seventh house and Jupiter aligns with Mars. So that's the celestial alignment, which, it does occur more than one, it has occurred more than once, but it is kind of rare. Okay. And, um, there's a better video that explains it, how that alignment occurred that day. And I'll also include a link to it below here. But anyhow, and you can check that out if you're into astrology and that sort of thing. But yeah, because that's no small alignment to be discussing, if you know what I mean. So anyhow, yeah. And then about a week and a half later, I ended up going off to the monastery, to the Buddhist monastery. And yeah, this piece was actually there with me in my room, in the Hakuin room, at the monastery the whole time. Well, not the whole time, most of the time. But yeah, this was in my room. So that's how much it means to me. That's how much it has meant on my path, and what it will continue to mean will remains to be seen. But anyhow, yes. So that is the story of how the piece ended up with me. And now, now that you've been looking at it for a little while here, you've been hearing my story of how it came to into my hands. Now I'm going to show you and read to you the automatic message, the automatic writing message that Jaime channeled from Jimi, which as you can see, she taped it like that in an envelope at the time. This is it. And she put it in here. And as I said, it's a two-page letter. You can see I've only taken it out of the envelope a handful of times since I picked up the piece. But anyway, you can see this is what it looks like. And she was insightful enough to use purple ink. Thank you, Jaime. That's awesome. Awesome. Nice touch. Anyway, so, okay, so let me read this. Let me turn this back around, though, because that way you can be looking at the image while I read the message. that looks good. Yeah, you can see it, right? There's no glare. Okay. Okay. So let me just get my glasses here. Okay, so in the message, it says, Dear patron, first of all, a big thank you. I decided to include a reading with this piece. I wanted to do a piece on Jimi Hendrix for a while now, and this is how he kept appearing to me in my dreams. Some say that I channel spirits when I create new pieces. It would be easy to assume that Jimmy has a message for the person that took him into their home. And yes, that would be me. Yes, the message definitely resonates for me on so many levels. To my core. But um, but it's not just for me. This message is not just for me. This is for whomever looks at it and resonates with it or gets something out of it or whatever. Okay, it's for anyone and everyone. It's really for all of humanity right now is what it is. But anyway, okay, so let's see. He first sent grapes, which represent fertility and wealthy fertility, literally or figuratively, happiness and success in love. The more abundance of grapes, the more financially successful too. So, so that's what grapes mean in this piece, and that's what it's all abundance, and there's obviously quite a bit of it, and they're huge, and they're kind of girdling the image, or embracing the image. So surrounded by abundance is what I'm getting out of that, right? Um, he then appeared as Dionysus, god of the vine, grape harvest, fertility. On the chariot with him is Ariadne, the goddess of vegetation, fertility, wine, and passion. And on his other side is Aphrodite, the goddess of love, desire, beauty, and fertility. Now, if you take a look here at the positioning, you see Ariadne, the goddess of vegetation, fertility, wine, and passion, right here is on the what appears to be the feminine side of the chariot, the divine feminine side, as seen here depicted by the night and the stars, and Aphrodite on this side of what appears to be the masculine side of the chariot, represented by the sun and the daytime. Um, and that is, symbolic of the divine feminine and masculine in divine union, in divine balance. And it 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 makes sense. It's actually interesting to me, and it makes sense to me that both are depicted by women. Like the divine masculine would be depicted by Aphrodite, who traditionally embodies virtues that are associated with the masculine perspective and ideals, right? Uh, so that makes sense. And the chariot is pulled by a lion, symbolizing courage, dignity, and strength. You have a strong presence that takes notice when you enter a room. Anger may trigger easily, but you have a great deal of compassion. So I suppose this is referring to me, and well, that may or may not apply. But anyway, the chariot, just breaking it down a little bit further, the golden chariot, representative of the Merkaba, the Merkaba, which is mentioned 44 times in the Bible, the Merkaba or golden chariot or ascension vehicle or light body or uh, you know it's It's Merkaba itself is ancient Hebrew for chariot, chariot of, and it was understood to mean the chariot of the gods. So that's your light body, your activation. Your ascension, activated ascension vehicle is what that would be. And it's pulled by the golden lion, which in different ideologies, the lion has pretty much, generally speaking, has come to mean that, exactly that: courage, dignity, strength, especially when it's depicted as a golden lion versus um, a regular lion, a more realistic, lifelike lion, because the golden lion implies a state of uh, golden attainment, or golden body attainment, or uh, the golden age. Okay, it could be representative of the golden age as well. Then we have, let's see, we have the sun, intense and thriving, giving life force to those in its presence. So all of this action going on in the image that we see is backed by this huge, beautiful golden or central sun, right? And that's kind of what I get out of it, is that it's all of this going on has the backing of the golden sun. Okay. Purple haze. Well, it's from Jimmy, so what would you expect? Yeah, no, our vision and path may not always be clear. Accept that the situation is temporary and write it out. All will be revealed in its own time. So, purple haze. Don't know if I'm going up or down. Okay, so purple haze um, is, a state of, and I like how it's portrayed behind the chariot, like the chariot is in front of it. So this state of haze or confusion, temporary confusion, is behind us. It's behind the golden chariot. So you make what you want out of that. Okay, but yeah, that's a clear symbolic message, in my opinion, as well. The fact that the purple haze is behind. But purple also symbolizes higher levels of spiritual attainment and consciousness, higher levels of consciousness. So uh, the haze or confusion is definitely temporary. But overall, we've got the higher level of consciousness that is allowing for this action to take place. Mushrooms. Take what no longer, these right here, the mushrooms, take what no longer serves a purpose and make new. Recycle into something necessary and fulfilling. Okay, so, what's that mean? That means take the poo and make something new, right? Take the poo and make something new. That's what the mushrooms are telling you to do. Okay, so basic. Yeah, I'm a dork. Okay, but basically the mushrooms are indicative of just that, and have come to symbolize that in general in a lot of cultures. The bubbles or the orbs that you see on both sides here, the bubbles or orbs are a metaphor for life. Time flies, lasting only brief moments. Each bubble is unique, as is each life we encounter. Feel the joy life brings. It is only temporary. So the orbs are a beautiful reminder of how fleeting physical life, an incarnation can be, and to remind us to make the most of each incarnated moment, which is a gift and an opportunity for you to express the grace of Goddess original mind, source, creator, whatever you want to call it, uh, to its fullest beauty. And that's what every orb is reminding us to pause and remember and think about. Pink roses, and those are these little swirly things right here on both sides. Aphrodite presented a pink rose to her son Eros. Most sacred of flowers, it represents love and feminism. And Mother Mary, pink represents giving creation to one's life. Yes, 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 yes. Pink has commonly, been associated with the heart chakra, not just green. Traditionally in Sanskrit and the Vedas and the different uh, yogic philosophy and traditions and Buddhism, we understand the chakra, the main chakras, and commonly associate green with the heart chakra, which is true, but in a lot of cultures and ideologies, it is also pink. And sometimes both, like a pink swirling within green that helps us visualize the energy of the heart chakra. And that's what this is alluding to, the fact that pink is associated with heart and divine love. And Mother Mary, yes, is associated with the pink rose, most definitely. So that's also indicative of the, I would say, divine feminine energies being allowed to blossom in their feminine beauty along the path to make this possible. I mean, we both have, masculine and feminine energies, as is commonly taught and discussed nowadays. But as we also know, the feminine has long been suppressed and oppressed, and this is just kind of symbolizing how allowing her along the path, the divine feminine, to flourish and blossom in her divine feminine beauty along the way within us is what's going to also help. Okay, so starfish right here, indicating new opportunities are about to appear. Take your time. There is no hurry. And yeah, I mean, think about starfish, how, we know how starfish can lose a limb and just regrow it. So it's like, hey, we're ready to create something new at any given moment, and we're ready to flow with it whenever need be. So that's the kind of thing that the starfish are representing here along the path and along the way to remember. The rainbow on the chariot. The rainbow is well, the rainbow is a lot of things, okay? I mean, don't get me started, but it has meant a lot on my particular journey, on my path. But yeah, let's see what it says here, what was channeled. The rainbow on the chariot, symbolic of crossing from one plane to another, of leaving the past for the future, of transcendence, to be in one dimension and to be able to access another. So yes, 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 but that is only the beginning. The rainbow is so symbolic of so much more. I can't even, I mean, I would need to do several videos about that alone, okay? But the rainbow is a promise. It's a promise that many, many, many things, but it as you are probably familiar with, or you've probably heard, or if not, it there are ideologies from across the globe and across the history of humankind that have prophecies that are engendered through concepts relating to the rainbow, or that have the rainbow at their crux, at the crux of the prophecy, at the centers of these prophecies, which all seem to be culminating now at this time on this planet. And as we're going through this huge shift that we're all almost palpably feeling at this point and discussing openly and freely, and I hear about a lot, which I love. But yeah, the rainbow is a promise. And I'll give you an example. In the Bible, the rainbow signified the promise that God made to Noah, that God would not wipe out all of humanity or have a huge global cleanse again, that he wouldn't do it again. It was God's promise to Noah, and he said, when you look up and see the rainbow, that's like my sign in the clouds. I don't remember the exact words, but it was the promise, and this is kind of key, that there would not be another global cleanse. Okay, and that's massively significant, if you ask me, right? So that's what the rainbow came to symbolize in a big part of the Bible, but also in other all kinds of prophecies and ideologies, even from indigenous cultures, all seem to point to the rainbow and it having a crucial significance during this global shift that we're undergoing right now. And you see it in different traditions, like even in like the concept of attaining the rainbow body, like in Tibetan Buddhism, there have been over 160,000 documented cases of people achieving rainbow body, what is called rainbow body, which is it's another name for, from what I've come to understand on my path, it's another name for an activated Merkaba, or golden chariot of the gods, an activated ascension vehicle. Your diamond body has been activated. Your rainbow body is lit. That's what that means. So yeah. So the rainbow means a lot. So it's quite apt. It's appropriate that it's right there, bam, in the center of the whole image on the golden chariot. So beautiful. Now the blue pillars. Blue is the color of peace and calmness, necessary to have the strength of the pillars to hold your life and those you love together. Strength and peace. That's what they symbolize. That I can see that. That's great, because they're actually providing support for the giant grapevines to be able to grow on. They wouldn't be able to grow without the support of the columns. Now, I look at the columns and I see quite a few things. I also see, for example, Boaz and Jashim. If you're not familiar with what those are actually the Boaz and Jashim are the columns that they were made of. I believe they were made of copper, but they were the columns that stood at the entrance of King Solomon's temple of wisdom, and the first temple in Jerusalem, I believe. And yeah, Boaz and Jashim, the two columns have come to at Solomon's temple have come to symbolize also a sort of opening, or an initiation, or stepping through of an initiate onto a new more enlightened path. So yeah, that's also very beautiful and fitting. And also, look at them. What do they look like? They look like a giant 11, right? And Number one, if you're a twin flame, as I am, you know the number 11 carries great significance for the twin flame community, and that sort of thing. Who People who constantly see 1111, like I do throughout my life, on clocks and everywhere. And in numerology, what is the 11? Is the master number 11, the first master number, and which is the number of the first initiation and the first opening of your and activation of your third eye and the upper chakras to opening up to the celestial gates. Um, so so yeah, it's it's quite symbolic of many different things. Oh, and in numerology also, by the way, it means a lot to me in particular as well, because I am a life path 11 and an expression number 11. And if you know about numerology, you know those are your two main numbers. And so yeah, it's quite meaningful to me too, on that level as well. Now, let's see. It says overall it seems that Jimmy wants you to enjoy your life. Look for new opportunities coming your way, most of which will be financially successful later in life. You got that right. Love, rebirth, creation, peace, and strength. Again, thank you for taking Jimmy home. Blessings, Jaime. And isn't that interesting? Jaime, Jimmy. Nice. But yeah, so that's it. And then once again, this is the letter, this is the paper that the artist Jaime was wise enough to select, because this is beautiful. That pink and white flower on the bottom right corner there is again just symbolic of divine love, and divine love unfolding and opening, blossoming. So thank you. Thank you once again, Jaime, Holland, for creating, for being, allowing yourself to be an open channel and creating this piece, and channeling the message from Jimmy, who is amazing, rocks. But yeah, that is pretty much my story of how this piece came home with me, and the channeled automatic writing message from Jimmy as well. And take one last look at this for now in this video anyway. And I don't know what you see, I don't know what you resonate with, but I'll tell you what, this, to me, is not just an art piece, as I said. All the different synchronous events that unfolded and led to me acquiring this piece and looking at it and being able to tell you about the story are nothing short of miraculous, in my opinion. And that's how it has felt as it developed and evolved. But also, look at it. It is a huge clarion announcement for the opening or beginning of the age of Aquarius. I mean, what else is it going to be? Look at it. Check it out. It's Jimmy in a golden chariot with a divine feminine and divine masculine in divine union, pulled by a golden lion through this opening, being held open by joy and abundance and girdled by support and love and calm strength, while the chariot or the Merkaba raises its frequency along the journey with these things remembering these things along the sides, and with all these supports in place, and being the observer and making the most of them to be able to raise your frequency enough to pass through what seems to me to be frequency gates. So right here, this is a, a clear as day announcement of the beginning and of the age of Aquarius, or the new golden age. And it's all too fitting that this series of synchronous events occurred and the piece ended up with me, an Aquarian, not just an Aquarian, the water bearer. I've said that before too in a previous video. So that I can now sit here and share with you this amazing confirmation of the new beautiful golden age that we are in fact preparing to usher in as a whole species and a whole planet, because that is what we're preparing to do, and that is what is happening, and that is, friends, what this is announcing. So I hope you've enjoyed my story. I hope you've enjoyed the piece and the synchronicities, and I hope you get something out of it and you resonate with it. And until the next video, I wish you much love, light, and peace from my heart with a capital H, as always. Till next time.